It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and before anybody asks, I'm sunburnt because of the game I went to today. I went to the Pitt Panther game against Rhode Island, and I did an episode of Movie Stop Forward. If you want to see that, go ahead and click the corner there. That's why my face is sunburnt. I brought the sunglasses with me, but I didn't bring my hat, so that's why half my face is completely sunburnt right now. But I'm gonna make it through here. I'm not doing my usual setup for right now because most of what we're going to look at today is not... Most of the movies here I have not really seen, so I can't really comment on most of them. But we can comment on some of them because because we have 5 movies to look at. I've seen a couple of them. And we're also getting into the start of the 1992 summer movie season. And unlike the last couple of summers, this is one of the lesser summer movie seasons of recent memory. I mean, this is one where a lot of the movies didn't really live up to all the expectations and hype that they had at the time. But this first one here could be a perfect example of that. It's Mel Gibson and Danny Glover starring in Lethal Weapon 3.
I'm thinking we should cut the blue wire.
Hey, wait!
What?
That's not what I'm thinking.
What, do you think maybe the red?
No. I'm thinking that this evening in 42 seconds, we can go upstairs, wait for the bomb squad, have a cappuccino.
I'm cutting the red wire, okay?
Oh! What? A minute ago you said go.
Nearly a catastrophe.
I'm cutting the wire.
Okay, all done. Rog.
Yeah.
Grab the cap.
Grab the cap.
They're back. Lethal Weapon 3.
Hiya, Hubie. Hey, we're looking for a friend of yours named Travis.
Hell, I never heard of him.
Wrong answer.
Wait, I'll leave my car here and I'll come with you.
No, you're not coming with us.
Yes, I am. All right, I'll take my car then.
No, you're
yes,
not.
I am. I can't believe you did that. I got a spare in the truck. I'll fix you. They're my partners. I can't believe they did that.
Yes, all right, the train ain't silent.
Freeze, police.
I want you to see something, Rog. She has a gift. What's this?
Hey, you okay, honey?
I just freeze.
Hey, Riggs, it's 5 of them, man.
Yeah, I know.
My girl.
I never met her with another sergeant before.
Hello, car 54, where are you?
The only thing they do contribute is mayhem and chaos.
No, I'm chaos and he's mayhem. You have the right to remain unconscious. Anything you say ain't gonna be much. Back to bed.
So unfortunately, Lethal Weapon 3 doesn't really live up to the same enjoyment factor that the second movie did. Not even close to what the first movie was, but I think the biggest problem with Lethal Weapon 3 overall was that it was because there wasn't really much of a story going on in this particular film. This was a movie that seemed to be focusing more on the camaraderie between all the characters. Of course, Mel Gibson and Danny Glover still have that great chemistry that they have together. Joe Pesci has a bigger role in here. They bring in Rene Russo for this new one, and she eventually later joins the next film. But the story really overall doesn't really have a whole lot there this time around. I mean, the first 2 movies were at least they at least had a story to work with. And this new film, however, just really, it doesn't have that same magic. I mean, I think it was because this was the first one that they did without Shane Black, and really, when you take Shane Black out of this series, it really does start to show its flaws to it. I mean, it's got Jeffrey Boehm and Robert Mark Harmon, who would later go on to write the Taken films as well as The Fifth Element, and Jeffrey Boehm would later go on to write. Trying to see what he wrote here because I'm not seeing. I lost my train of thought there, but He didn't really write that much. I mean, he did Adventures of Briscoe County Jr., he did Tales from the Crypt, he did The Phantom, and then that was pretty much it. I mean, this was kind of towards the end of his career, which ended up being the end of his life towards the end of the decade, because he died in January of 2000. And just in this movie, you can really tell that there really wasn't that same spark that was there the first time around with the first two movies. I mean, like I said before, the cast still works very well. They just really didn't have anything to do in this particular movie. I feel like they just rushed this one out there so they could just get it out there so they can make money and then get out of the way. And then, yeah, it's just an okay movie. It's a movie that still has some memorable moments to it. It still has some funny moments to it. But it certainly doesn't live up to the same hype the first two movies did. But again, it's not terrible. It's much. I would say it's a decent film still, but like I said, it's nothing spectacular. It's just an okay sequel. But I've seen a lot worse, so I'll give it a pass. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is The Waterdance.
Dream man, I'm on this lake, and I'm standing up. No chair, man. Sky, a beautiful blue all around me. And I'm standing on the water. But I'm dancing, see? And that's the only way I can stay up is do this dance. And I know that as soon as I quit, forget it, that's it.
Here's one of those movies that I really know nothing about. You have the story of Joe Garcia, who is a writer who is paralyzed after a hiking accident. He carries a relationship with this woman played by Helen Hunt, Mad About You, and he's having an affair with her at the time of the accident, and they try to continue on this affair, and it just leads to so many consequences, and that's really all I got for you. It also has Wesley Snipes in it, and William Forsythe and Elizabeth Pena, and that's pretty much all I know about it. Eric Stoltz plays the main character, Joe Garcia. Like I said, that's pretty much all I know about it. I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on it too much, but it's got some good reviews to it, so I'm going to assume that it's not a bad movie overall. So, with that said, let's move on to another movie that I've never seen before, and that is Cabeza de Veca.
Tierra, un lugar para morir.
So basically the premise of this movie is that it's kind of like a biography about Alvar Núñez Cabeza de Veca, who is an early Spanish explorer. He travels around looking for and finds what's later going to become the American South. He was one of 4 survivors of the Narvaez expedition and shipwreck, and he became known as a shaman among the Native American tribes he encountered, which helps him survive. The movie follows the journey through a number of years, beginning in 1528 to 1542, where he releases his journal. And that's pretty much all I have for you, because I haven't seen this movie. Can't really comment on it too much, but looks nice though, so I'll give it that. But with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the other movie that I've seen of the 5 films, and that is Bill Paxton in The Vagrant.
This next property is very well suited to your particular needs, Mr. Krakowski.
He saw it.
This house speaks to me. It says potential.
He loved it.
Well, I could even think about putting in a hot tub or maybe even a lanai.
A lanai, wow. He bought it.
Owning a house is okay, but you're going to get an ulcer making the payments.
How'd you like to see yourself promoted?
Mr. Feemster, I certainly wouldn't mind that.
And how'd you like to see yourself fired?
I wouldn't like that at all, sir.
But now, he's starting to lose it.
911 emergency.
I'd like to report a dangerous vagrant.
There's just one problem with Graham Krakowski's new home. He's not home alone.
A bizarre, senseless murder took place last night.
Mrs. Haller's been murdered. There's this vagrant who lives across the street. He did it, I know it, and now he's in the kitchen.
You're acting like a maniac.
Just relax. The police are taking care of her.
He's innocent, I tell you. Innocent. You are out of order. No.
I'm attracted to you.
It's so sexy.
It's not often I get a nice young man like you to talk to.
It's scary. So scary. It's funny. What could you possibly say? So funny.
You seen that blue 78 Ford station wagon?
You mean like the one on fire out there?
It's a scream.
What if the authorities actually found out I killed her?
I see the dessert menu. The Vagrant. There goes the neighborhood. One neighbor at a time.
Would you believe that the same man that directed The Fly 2 gave us this movie? And it's a lot better movie than The Fly 2 is, because at least this movie is intentionally funny and kind of scary at the same time. I had a good time with this movie. I really knew nothing about this film until I saw the trailers for it, and the posters make it look like it's just a typical generic horror film. It is, but not really. It's a horror comedy, and it's also produced by Mel Brooks, and you can definitely see a lot of his influence in this movie. And the movie is just a ton of fun. I mean, Bill Paxton's having a blast in this. So is Michael Ironside. So is Marshall Bell playing the title Vagrant. Colleen Camp, Mark McClure, Stuart Penkin. Just a phenomenal cast in here. And it's just so funny. Like, some of the stuff they do here is really hilarious. And it's also kind of a little tense and terrifying, too, at times. Like, it's a really funny movie that's really scary at the same time. It's a really solid film. I actually had a really good time watching this movie the first time I saw it. It's definitely worth checking out. If you want to see some of Bill Paxton's most underrated work, The Vagrant is definitely the movie for you. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the last movie we have here, which I was shocked to find out that this was another dark comedy. It's Crispin Glover and Howard Hessman starring in Ruben and Ed.
Reuben Farr needed company.
That's it. Why don't you get out of this house and make yourself a friend?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Ed Tuttle needed customers.
Excuse me.
That's off.
You've got a big problem.
Success! Word!
Fate brought them together.
Hello, Ruben. What a tremendous day. Let's say we motor on over to the seminar and get you started on the Express to Success.
Nope. I guess you're pretty broken up about your cat.
Why don't you keep your hands off other people's refrigerators?
Why don't you bury your cat at sea?
It's safe water.
You don't need to bury him out in the desert.
He'll defrost.
Like in the ice.
That's a good idea.
So they hit the road.
This is the perfect spot to bury a cat. Any cat in their right mind would be happy as a clam to be buried here. Now, you have to admit that. No, I don't. Yes, you do.
You don't have to admit anything. It's solid. Bury the cat. Is this the right spot?
It's gonna get weird now.
You have to be back before the seminar is over.
Jeez.
My cat can eat a whole watermelon.
You're a king. A king. A king.
I can't believe that you didn't even get one person to that stupid seminar.
Reuben and Ed.
Who's the biggest failure in this room?
Raise your hand, Ed.
Starring Crispin Glover.
Ow!
I am a Republican. Howard Hessman.
Hello, Ruben.
Huh?
Is that you?
And Karen Black. Reuben and Ed. They don't know where they're going, but they're on their way.
I gotta hand it to you, Ruben. That was all smart. Boy, you really know how to make an impression.
I guess this is sort of a dark comedy. I mean, you have Crispin Glover playing an eccentric, unsociable young man forced by his mother to make some friends before she returns the stereo to him, and he comes across this pyramid scheme salesman to assist in finding a location to bury a frozen cat. If that's not the weirdest, bizarrest premise for a buddy comedy that also has kind of this dark edge to it, then quite frankly, I don't know what it is. But it looks pretty good. It looks like a really bizarre comedy that. It's funny because when you look back at according to this, there was a David Letterman episode in '87 when Crispin Glover was in The River's Edge. He showed up on the show looking like the character in this movie, and that led many people to believe that Glover was actually doing this character to see if it would actually work in a movie. Which, if you watch that clip and you watch this trailer, you can definitely see very similar aspects to both his characters in there. The character on the show and then the character in this movie. This looks like a bizarre movie, and it could be a ton of fun too, so I don't know, maybe one day I'll definitely check this one out. I'm actually very curious to see how this movie actually pans out. I don't know how good of a reception it's had over the years. I can't really find anything at the moment, but my interest is definitely peaked. I really do want to see this movie and see what it actually ends up panning out being. So on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We jump into Memorial Day weekend on our next episode with 4 movies to look at, including what was then considered one of the most anticipated movies ever, which was Alien 3. How do you follow up one of the greatest action sequels of all time, which was also one of the great sci-fi films, period. The reception was not as well as you would think it would be, but we'll delve into that one when we get to that one. Alien 3 we'll look at. We'll also look at another movie that was also seen as kind of a failure, Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman in Ron Howard's Far and Away. We also have Pauly Shore and Sean Astin in Encino Man with Brendan Fraser as well, and also Europa. So 4 movies to look at next time around, and we will do just that on the next show tomorrow. So with that said, though, thank you guys for watching, and I apologize for the setup right now. Hopefully by tomorrow we'll be back to normal, but this is pretty much what I have to do right now. So if you want to see more videos like this, check out the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.